Hey, Dave Seekman.
Hi, Kelly Donahue Perro. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. It's September.
Yep, it's
But
excellent month for me. Kids
yeah,
are back in school.
ship them out. Bust
Ditto.
out the pumpkin spice lattes.
Oh yeah, not quite there yet. September for me is still a little summery.
I
I
agree.
don't do fall until October.
I agree. And until it's like sweater weather, you can keep the pumpkin spice a little bit at bay, but no,
Yeah,
it's coming soon.
yeah, I'm with
Um,
you.
but I know today's podcast is something you and I have been talking about probably all summer long, which is, in insurance, we sort of take it a little easy in the summer. Kids are out, vacation time, but it's often really chaotic in agencies. So we're titling this podcast "Back to School, Back to Your Business," which I think is super timely. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think the summertime is tough. Like you said, the kids are out of school. You get the longer days, so you're kind of, oh well, I'll take this day and we'll go do this, and then you're up late because the sun hasn't set, and I think it's very easy to, use that excuse that those 3 months we're not going to do anything. Unfortunately, it's a big chunk of time to not be focused on your business. So I think September is an excellent time to say, all right, that's behind us. The problem with this topic is that it comes back up here again in a couple of months, where we lose like the last 5 weeks of the year because it's Thanksgiving and then all of December seems to be gone. So we've got almost 3 months here where we can really kind of focus, get back into the business, and really put some effort into what we want to accomplish for the rest of the year.
No doubt. And I think we got to put the pedal to the metal too, because if you want to hit your end of year goals, it's a big deal. But let's talk a little bit. Where are you in this month of September? Where are you going? What are you doing? Who are you seeing?
Sure. So the month of September started with a lot of staying at home. So coming out of the summer, doing a lot of running around and trainings. Beginning of the month was pretty relaxed, but I'm gearing up here to go down to Georgia to visit my friends down there at SNA. We're headed out to Seattle for an event that we're putting on there as well.
Of the pumpkin spice latte.
Oh, there you go.
They're fun.
Yeah, and I've got some stuff locally. I got a nice drive up to Maine to visit some friends up there. So got a little training here as we head into the second half of the month.
Awesome.
What about you? Where you been?
So I am going to have week 3 in Texas. So I was in Austin, I was in Abilene, and now I'm about an hour outside of Dallas. Leave this afternoon. So love our Texas friends. Then next week I'm heading to Convocation, which is the Big I Education Director Summit. So I'll be speaking and doing a little workshop for them on how to attract agents. And I really want to thank a lot of agents. I did a social media post about what they want their associations to know, and we got more than enough, very direct and good feedback. So I thank everybody for that. The week after that is actually wild because it's one of the first Paradiso presents. We're going to do 8 over the next year. So Chicago. Then I'm going to road trip it with one of my clients from Chicago down to Iowa. Get to do a little training with an agency in Iowa, speak at a carrier, Grinnell. Then I ship off to Georgia as well, where the PIA of Georgia has actually rented out a luxury box at the Atlanta Braves for an all-day training with me and then a game at night. So how fun is that?
Cool.
They don't believe summer's over.
Still baseball season.
Yeah, the week after that I'm at Cross in Seattle with you, doing a great training at Safeco. So I'd say it's a jam-packed, awesome September.
Excellent. Gotta get back into it now, right?
Listen, back to school, back to your business,
Got it.
No more luxurious two nights away from the fam. Back to hitting it hard so that we can get out there. Because we got to tend to our own business here at the end of the year, right?
Right. So what's our first topic today? What do you think? So we're back to business. What is the number one thing that you think that agents should really be focusing on here as we kind of get into the last piece of the year here?
So my strategy, I think, is for people to think about what's going to set you up for success for 2020. I think a lot of agents wait to the last minute and then they start thinking about it and it becomes like, okay, well, it's December. What am I going to do next year? I really encourage you guys to say, what can I do now that means that January 1, I can hit the ground running? And to me, that means that you really need to focus on your marketing strategy, because while everybody's going crazy in the fall and the holidays, you can be doing a brand guide, which we'll talk about what that is in a second, behind the scenes so you can launch it fresh in 2020. Dave, there's over 30,000 agents in America, and there's something like $4 billion spent on insurance marketing. I want every agency out there to embrace having a really cool, awesome brand that makes you stick out in your community, however you define your community, so that way when people think insurance in your local area, they're thinking you, and these brand guides crush it in that area.
Yeah, the average American actually sees 30 insurance ad impressions a day. When you talk about things online, things on the radio, billboards driving down the street. My biggest complaints, we talk about coming out of the summer. I spent a lot of the summer down on Cape Cod, and the plane just flies back and forth, up and down the beach, trailing the banner with the big gecko up on it. So this is what everyone has experienced. They're just getting bombarded with these materials. So while we don't have a $4 billion budget, we have to figure out where can we focus our energy and build our branding and marketing, so that when people see those images, they're also thinking about ours, and that our images are also instilled in their brain in terms of what we do and the difference between us, because they tell our story, what makes us different, what makes us unique and better than the agency down the street or the direct writer.
And you want to work with an outside company on this because you're just too close to it. It's like, I always say to my best friend, it's like I write her online dating profile because it's really hard to write about yourself. But as her best friend, I can sit there and say all the great things about her in a way that's attractive to the young men out there or the middle-aged men out there now, because we're getting and I think that that's so important, is like working with somebody that can do it and force you out of insurance blue, force you to really think creatively, because you don't have to be super behind the scenes. And one thing I want to mention, guys, now is the time to contact your carriers on co-op money, because we've been super successful in brand guides and our training services and getting carriers to co-op it. That if there's dollars out there, what a great use to put it to work right now to get ready for 2020.
Yeah, and I agree with you with the outside vendor too, because this is a different skill from what most insurance agencies have. Most of us are very focused on, being able to read the policy and work with people and have all that interaction. Building brand and marketing and all of these things, I'm not saying that nobody can do it, but it's typically outside what a traditional insurance agency, how they think. So bring somebody in that has an expertise on this, that has done dozens of these, and really understands how to get this from, what you might be kind of rattling around in your head as some ideas, pull that out of you, and most importantly, get it down onto paper and digitally as well. Because to me, that's the trick here. And that's where I feel that Agency Appeal really has done a great job with their brand guides, by being able to pull out from what might be a more of a traditional insurance agent mind and put it down onto paper and really wow the agents that have had this experience.
Yeah, and what a great time to launch a new brand at your holiday party. Like, I could just see everybody in their new swag, the new hoodies, the new hats, all this fun stuff. So that's one thing I'm recommending to everybody, all of our clients. It's like, get out there, get ahead of the brand guides, and you can be doing it now to launch it for next year and just take things off to the next level, because they do take about 3 to 4 months from start to finish. It's not intensive on the agency, but there's a lot of details that we go into with designers and content writers. So now's the time. Let's make it happen. And for people listening to this podcast, if you reach out to us and want to know more, I'm willing to take $500 off the brand guide for you. So just contact us and we'll be happy to walk you through that. We can get you some samples, etc. But Dave, that's where I'm passionate about. What about you? What are you telling your agencies as we head into the tail end of this year?
Sure. So I'm really looking at training. So when it comes to training, everyone always kind of feels like they don't have it's not the right time. That's the biggest reason why we don't invest in training. And we do a lot of training. But a lot of our training is focused on product, right? Whether it's CEUs or we have the carrier marketing rep come in to talk about their special endorsements and their new, bells and whistles and all of that stuff. And we do a lot of system training, whether it's the agency management system, comparative raters, website training, all of that. But we don't focus on those skills that people need to actually do their job on a daily basis. Some of those softer skills like time management or sales training, or, there's this idea of having these annual review calls. Well, that's great, but what are we actually saying to people? So one of my favorite things to say is like, what if it works, right? So your number one thing here is a brand guide. Awesome. So we have a brand guide. That means that people start to call us. Okay, well, what if it works? Now the phone's ringing. Now, have we given our staff the skills to be able to take that call from lead through sale and then beyond with the customer experience? So I think training is really important, to do some of that training that is not kind of the traditional product systems carrier training. And to me, this is a great time to do it, because we do have a little bit of a window here before we get into the holiday season. And everything that you do now will pay off in 2020. So a lot of people tell me, well, I want to wait till next year. And then it's like, okay, so if we launch in January, you need to have some time, so you're not going to get the full effect of that next year. So I think if you can launch it now, you're in a great position. There's also a couple of holidays here in the fall that I find very interesting, because
I love a good holiday.
I know. So this is something that you promote a lot. We have Columbus Day and we have Veterans Day, which are two holidays where you're not necessarily expected to be open, but we can take advantage of them. So instead of just, whether you traditionally have been closed or it's a day that you've been open, we all know these are slower days in the agency. So it's a great opportunity to bring somebody in, do a training on those days, so that you're not trying to pull people from the phones on a day that has a little bit more production in your agency, but you're still getting the training done and really investing in your staff.
I no doubt. And, I think when we look at training, I mean, there's so many different things that can make people's lives better and easier. And you know what, guys, your number one expense and investment in your agency is your payroll, right? So when we're not dumping into our team and helping them and empowering them, guess what happens? They keep the habits they have. We don't change, we don't grow, we don't adopt. And that's why training is so important. And that's why we're here to help you guys with that. So I don't know if many people know this, but we have everything from virtual training hours. So if you're thinking about like, oh man, it's hard to shut the agency down for a day, buy a block of hours. But I'll tell you what, the best agencies do go ahead and they commit to training, whether it's half in the morning, half in the afternoon. And many of them take our advantage of our 6-month programs that really help not just train, but like invest and ingrain those things that we know need to be done into the agency.
Right. Absolutely.
And again,
right.
Carrier co-op dollars, they exist.
I was just going to mention that. There's another area, carrier co-op dollars. And there are also state grants out there. So depending on your state and how it's set up, we have some of this information, but you can go to the unemployment office or the Department of Labor, again, depending on the state, and find out how you can get some co-op dollars to pay for some of these programs.
No doubt. Well, this probably leads me to the prickly topic that I get to talk about. And I don't talk about this topic lightly, but now is the time, if you have some underperforming team members, to address that situation. And here's why. As we lean into the end of the year, it is very difficult to let someone go during the holidays. It's not an easy situation. And the longer that you let it go on, the more likely you are going to walk into 2020 with this person that is not maybe the best fit for your agency and your goals. And then let me tell you what happens in January. Everybody gets sick. Like the flu, we've all expended ourselves over the holidays, spent way too many times with strangers who have colds, and now it's January and you got to keep this person. My recommendation is, if you have some people that are underperforming, is to put them on a performance improvement plan now. This could be 30 or 60 days, but it's a clear outline of your expectations and what you're going to do to help them meet those expectations. And at the very end, it even says that if this plan's not adhered to, it could lead to termination. So instead of you being the bad guy, you're really setting up a good plan for someone to succeed, but also giving them the friendly alert, this isn't working. And Dave, what happens then? They might go find themselves another place to park their butt, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely some self-selection that goes on here. I think when I talk to agents about this topic, we tend to focus on the individual that we're discussing, and we're like, well, we feel bad because it's the holidays, or maybe they're just underperforming, maybe they're a negative influence, but we're just like, well, but at least they're a body. And what I always come back to is, if you're an agency of 10 people and you have one person underperforming or one negative influence, you've got 9 other people that you should be thinking about and considering. Mm-hmm. And in every agency that I've worked in or worked with, almost every single time somebody has moved on, whether it's the agency decision or the individual's decision, you get this, and everyone's heard the term addition by subtraction. It absolutely is an effect. And almost every time I hear, I wish I had done that 6 months ago. We should have done this a year ago. Because there really is, we're putting ourselves in a better position. And some of it is just, giving ourselves a little bit of a push. Yeah, I know I should be out there recruiting, but I'm working on this, I'm working on that, I'm too busy over here. So sometimes it's just biting the bullet, having the discussion, focus on the entire agency, focus on your clients. Typically if you have somebody underperforming or a negative attitude, they're not performing well for your clients either. So think about the effect that they're having in that area. My number one thing is don't fall into that, at least they're a body trap. Just too often you're actually putting your agency, your clients, and your other employees at such a disadvantage by kind of following along that thought process.
Yeah, and I know it's tough, but that's why I love that performance improvement plan, right? It's the warning shot. I've always believed that people should know that this is not working very clearly. Terminating someone should not come as a surprise.
Right.
But if you really look at it, if you did it right now for 30 days, that would really bring you to middle of October, right? So any much further than that, a week here, a week there, you're fine. But once you start getting in November, I'm telling you, most people really struggle to make those difficult decisions. So take a look, and you know what? You might surprise yourself. The person might take to that performance improvement plan, and you have a whole different situation on your hands.
Yeah, absolutely. This doesn't mean that we're setting them up for failure. What we're trying to do is actually set them up for success. We have to help them identify where they should be, work with them to figure out why they're not there, put them on the path to say, hey, if you follow this path, you'll start hitting your goals or turn your attitude around or whatever it might be. And then hopefully, come October, come November, they've turned it around. Heading into the end of the year and next year, we're in a much better position.
I love it. How about you, Dave? What's your final tip for back to school, back to your business?
So my final tip, I always, the year is set up a little funny with the 12 months, and we always kind of think of quarters, but I actually, a lot of times will break it into into thirds, because just the way it falls, you go January through April is kind of the first third of the month, and then you got May through August, which kind of gets you to the end of September, the end of August, the end of the summer. And then you have the last third. So as we're recording this, we've now entered into the last third of the year, and we're approaching that last quarter. To me, this is an excellent time to assess and reassess your goals. So where did I want to be at the end of the year? Whether you did budgeting last year, whether you set some very specific sales metrics, retention metrics, whatever it might be, even if there were projects that you wanted to get done. At this point, you should be 3/4 of the way through those goals. And if you're not, you only have 1 quarter left to hit your goals. So what are you going to do differently in that last quarter that you haven't been doing during the first 9 months of the year? And a lot of times we get to this point, and it's a great opportunity to just stop, take a breath, and see what we want to do moving forward. Because too often it's you just get caught up into that daily routine, and it's like everything else. Before you're like, oh, I can't believe how quick that year went by. It's something that I hear every December. I can't believe the year's over. So now being here in September and knowing we've got 3+ months ahead of us, instead of waiting till December, look at your goals now and see where you want it to be and where you're at, and again, what you need to do differently for the rest of the year.
I totally, totally agree. And I think now is such a good time because it's not November when everyone's like, oh my gosh, we got to go hit this goal. Let's go do it. And when we talk about goals too, Dave, I think it's important we think about your carrier commitments too, right? So
Yeah.
again, going after, you're going to go hit them up for that co-op dollar to go work with us. Let's also say, where am I as to where I need to be with your goals? Because sometimes they're a little late in getting them to you, or you got to ask for them, or slips our mind to go log in and see. And so now is a time to say, hey, we aren't far off from hitting that next tier with XYZ company. Let's put some intention behind it. And starting now is the key. Starting in November is a huge stressful scramble.
And you're probably not going to make it if you start in November, even if, you know, because there's only so much you can do. If you're halfway to your goal, halfway through November, you're probably not going to make it.
Right.
But if you're halfway through your goal here in September, you still have a shot. You just have to make some adjustments.
I totally, totally agree. So I feel like we've given everybody some good opportunity to kind of go in and see what they're looking for. But I want to end this by saying, you know, we are going to be doing two big things for the last quarter. And you know how I like to end the year strong. The first one is we are officially launching, and you can sign up to get started with our Apex time management program. So I know, you know, for me, I want to get rid of the word busy in agencies. I can't stand it. I think I've hit my breaking point where I took all summer to document out our 6-month program on getting rid of the word busy in your agency. But it's literally the thing that's holding people back. And I see it all the time where people love to work in the backlog versus being forefront and proactive. And Dave, I mean, what is your take? You see this too. And I think you're starting to get as jaded as I am about it.
Absolutely. And I think what we have to understand is that this is not an insurance agency problem, right? This is a general life problem. So I'm on like the soccer board, for example, and the same thing happens there. People don't get to what they're supposed to be doing. And, you know, it's the same excuse. I'm too busy. You call a doctor's office and they're like, oh, yeah, I was supposed to get that out to you. So I don't think that this is an insurance issue as much as it is just kind of daily life and how we interact. And now, especially with all of the different systems and computer programs we're supposed to be using, you know, nobody's ever trained me on how to manage my inbox. It's not a discussion that I've ever had. You know, and I've been using email for, 20-year career, plus that. So, I think I couldn't have been more excited when you kind of brought up the idea, because we talk about time management in all of our individual training programs, but it's really just about how to get that individual program installed and how to make that program more efficient. Now we've just blown that up to say, let's just make the entire day more efficient. And then that way we can spend more time on those revenue generating or revenue retaining opportunities.
Listen, there's no doubt in my mind, and we talk about it too, that one of the reasons people struggle with figuring out maybe how to work with us is, time. My staff doesn't have any time. I don't have any time. How am I going to add this into my day? I don't want to make it unvaluable. And I'm telling you right now that this is your answer to that, right? Like, we can go build more time into your day just by looking at the efficiencies. So hit us up on that. And then the other thing I want to talk about is we'll be launching our end of year special. It's coming October. We always do the last quarter. And this is why I want everybody to pay attention and watch for it. It's our most competitive pricing. And it's that for two reasons. A couple of reasons. One, we want you to get that carrier co-op money and apply it. Two, it's a great time of year for tax purposes if you've had a great year to make sure you're investing to make more of it next year. Three, it's before we do our 2020 price adjustment. So every year, due to expenses and growth and all those great things, everything gets a little bit more expensive. And so it's a good time to say, lock it in, and you can use our services anytime next year. So if you're even considering it, have that conversation with us, get on our calendars so we can talk about it. And you can really make that investment into your plan for next year.
Yeah, and don't wait till October to call us, because it does take a couple of weeks to get everything put together. So give us a call now. I know, Kelly, your schedule is fairly hectic and filling up fast. Mine is as well. So let's work on this now so that we can make sure we get it done before the end of the year.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, thank you guys, everybody, for paying attention. Our next podcast is actually going to be all on time management, where you're going to learn a little bit of our top secret trade secrets of what we're going to be bringing out to the insurance community. So stay tuned and really appreciate you listening.